Hello and welcome back to Jesse's Vintage Garage, and we're working on the 56 again. And of course, after getting the top end all put in, we're ready to move on to some more stuff. We're going to try to fit in the tanks next, and probably move on to the front fender. And then maybe at the end of this segment or the next video, we'll start talking about the rear fender. Depends on how far my body shop friend gets on that. I got to talk to him about it anyway yet. So yeah, so there was something I want to talk about here. Oh, and then don't forget to subscribe and stuff. I wanted to talk about that. And then that and our email address. Don't hesitate to not be worried about sending a message or an email about anything. Motorcycle related, of course. And we'd be willing to help and walk through anything on that stuff. In fact, we enjoy doing that stuff. But back to the video here. We're going to get the tanks out and then the fender and see what it looks like here. Alright, so here are the reproduction V-twin tanks I got. I had a hard time finding real ones for 56 because a lot of the 56s, and actually I think all the 56 and 56 55s had the actual tank badge welded in here, and all the other ones do too, like the 57, 58, 61, the mounts, yeah, and 59s and 60s. They all have the mounts welded into it, and these aren't, of course. Now V-twin does make a tank set that does have them in it, but they're never available. They're always out of stock, and with the way stuff's going on in Taiwan anyway, it'd be hard to get anything from there. And of course, I needed non-shift gate ones because we're running a hand clutch and shift with the foot, you know. So I didn't want that. Then they also make another set that has the badges with the shift gate, and those are available, but I didn't want to figure out how to fill that in. so anyway, I didn't want to do that. So anyways, these are pretty good though. We end up having replica tanks for the 40, and those worked out fine. So we're kind of hoping and banking that these are the same way. We also have to get the fuel rod alignment tool in here and check that all out too. Well, we'll do that. We don't have a bunch of extra trim things to take off like on the 40, but all we really got to do is bolt this up like it is with the correct hardware and see how it looks underneath here when it clearances on the rocker boxes. So, and these are the 55, 56 style tanks. So this should have the room for the panhead to sit there. So let's go ahead and get started on trying them out. There, we got the tanks on. They kind of went right on. I mean, they lined up really well and went on there. And of course this end gets the stud, and then I got this flat washer there, and the hex nut kind of like just letting it sit there. And this one down here worked out really well. And we have plenty of clearance on the rocker boxes. And luckily we put the little ding on this one right there because it's hidden really well here. Otherwise we'd see it on this one. Yeah, otherwise, unless it leaks on the seams, the painter will check all that out and pressure test it and all that stuff. The one thing is we gotta get the brackets on here for our tank badges. So we need to either mark them out where we want them at and have him tack them on or weld them on, or we do all that. So we're going to think about that. And first off, we need to get them to line up properly and sit proper on here. We don't want to like going uphill or downhill or too far forward or backwards. We're going to try our best to figure out where it needs to be. It's really hard to figure this part out because I was really wanting to find the one with the badge marks or the badge brackets, because this part here, I want it in the right spot, especially when I do the swoop on here with the paint job. I want it to be all lined up right.
Not too high, not too low.
So there's not really any template or any sort of instructions out there. So we're gonna do our best here at this. I've really dug around trying to find a pattern or something sort of template for that. And the funny thing is, according to the Palmer book and other original bikes, the paint job was hand painted by an individual back then, and he even would like get his fingerprint on the tank back here, and there was even all the original paint jobs had the little thumb mark right here from the paint job. And it's a funny story. I've seen like a bunch of people showing that and talking about it. Of course, this bike does not get that situation because it's been.
Unless we have your painter do it.
Yeah, we could have our painter put the thumbprint there, but no, yeah, we're not going to do that. So, yeah, there's probably a reason why. I think there was a reason for it too. I think he had to touch it or move it or something. It's a long story. It's an interesting story, and I don't know the whole thing. So I'm just going to stop there because you can look into it if you want. But yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, let's move on to see if we can do these badge brackets. Okay, so messing with this badge here, it's got a already factory curve to it, so this might be pretty much easy to figure out.
Yeah, because you come forward, you got a big gap here. Go too far back, you got a gap up here, and it doesn't lay right.
Yeah.
So you get it right in the right spot, it doesn't move at all.
So then, yeah,
There,
we gotta
right
figure
about
out.
there. And then you level it.
Yeah.
There. Now it doesn't rock or
we get the
tip or
bike
anything.
sitting, we get the frame sitting level, we can measure and put a level here somehow and make sure it's level with the tank, and then we can draw on here for him, and he can weld these brackets on or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Take the tape off.
yeah. Okay, mess with this more. Well, we kind of got the spot where we want our badge to sit, and these brackets, of course, have a 3M tape on the back that they glue on pretty good, and they stay for a long time. But they don't have like spots for you to weld them on, and we need to talk to the painter about how he wants to do this. But he still needs a reference point where the badge needs to sit at. This is the best way we figured it out, and that way when he goes to do the swoop part, he knows where to put it at, you know. So that's our point there. And we'll ask him if we want to like tape these on later, or if he would rather just drill a few holes and then weld them on there. But that's where we're at right here on this. But I think it should be okay here if either way we go. All right, so after having the tank badges all kind of figured out, we're working on moving on to the fuel shutoff rod alignment. And the procedure in the Palmer book talks about how to perform the alignment, the tool needs to be inserted from the bottom going up. This is the special tool you just seen there, and it threads in, and then it should come out the top valve opening. If it sometimes there's a distance problem here. It talks about how the tank can be smashed just a little bit, and the top hole would be a little bit taller than or a little bit higher than where it should be at, and it'll have a hard time seating as well. It's all about the distance, pretty much, keeping this thing from leaking or being on all the time. So I have it in, and it's coming out, and it's lining up. It looks kind of off a little bit, but it's actually not, from what I can tell here. I'll show you how I figured out how it's kind of like straight here. Okay, the fuel shutoff rod. So this is the book we used for the 40, and of course they got the old style part numbers here. They changed it later in the later 40s, and they're different between the 56 style one and the one we're running in the 40. But anyways, the 56 takes this dash 50 down here, because this part that threads in the bottom here is different than the older style one. But otherwise, it's about the same. The other thing is, in these parts books, they show the W and the G models, and along with the big twin ones. The dash 40 part number here is for the W and then the 45s, and this one here is for the big twins. And it's all about the fact that there's like 2 3/4 of an inch between the bottom of this hole to here, and it's wherever this hole is set up for the height, the amount of fuel you're going to be running for your tank. Because the tanks are larger in the big twin than they are the small, and it wouldn't work right properly with the wrong one, because the gas part would be off. So what I end up doing is taking this piece and putting it on the top, and then I can see the bottom of this and the top of that top threaded area, and see how it looks. That's how I'm going to tell that it's flat over here. Yeah, so then I just drop this on here like this, and it's actually pretty straight there. Now, there isn't much you can do here to move this. You can grab onto this with something and bend it a little bit, but the fact this rod goes through, it actually lines up, that's the whole thing they're talking about in the Palmer book. That's the most important part, because this little cap thing flexes a little bit to line up with the threads. So, yep, that's exactly right, because it's about 1 inch hanging out, according to the book here. So, anyway, yeah, that's it. So otherwise, we could seal it, this tank and stuff, but what my friend's gonna do is he's gonna probably clean up a lot of these crazy welds here and make this kind of look more like it should, instead of being kind of like all jagged looking. He'll clean that up probably, because you see that, and make sure that all the seams are sealed, and then pressurize it and then paint it. Okay, so then the other thing with the fuel rod, I want to mention a couple things here before I move on. This part threads into here, so when you're unthreaded on top, it's unthreading from this piece and open up the flow here. The other thing is this pin up here keeps it from going out too far. So you don't pull the whole rod out when you're going to turn the reserve on, or the fuel. Yeah, and of course you need the banjo crossover to be able to tighten this up tight. Otherwise it would go all the way in and you have to work it back out. But otherwise, yeah, it's a pretty simple thing. Yes, it leaks. It can leak very heavily if you don't have this lined up properly, because this little Viton seat in the bottom here, this is the valve, the point part, but inside here is the seat and stuff. It's like nylon or rubber of some type. This one, I don't know if this is a Viton one or not. A lot of them are nowadays. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, we can't put this on really until we get the tank back being painted and everything. But we got to make sure this works. So when we before we have the tank painted and we have a problem. So where I got the lower piece installed here to where just kind of like where the banjo would be at, or so. Yep, just like so. And then up here, of course, I have the retaining piece here threaded down, and then of course I'm also making sure this thing functions. So here I'm shutting it off, and it's threading into that bottom piece. Now it goes all the way down. There we go. There it is. And then of course unthreaded it, so it's functioning. And then we should be able to pull it up for a reserve if we want to. So there we go. Oh, it's not quite out yet. There it is. So then there's our reserve. So I'd say this works. And then the more probably it functions, maybe the looser it'll get, and then it'll work a lot better when there's fuel in there and everything. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, let's go on to moving on to the front fender. We're getting ready to mess with the front fender, but I got the headlamp mounted, mounted here, and this is the cups and stuff, and there's like replacement nylon pieces here, because originally there was like rubber mounted. This is the later style one that gets rubber mounted here, and I've got stainless bolts in there. But and then I also have the ground wire hooked up, and I got it wrapped around like this, because here's the hole that was original, and I didn't want it hanging down here, so I went around here because it's extra long wire. And then we'll mount the headlamp and stuff when we get the tin put on. So anyway, that looks pretty nice. It's all original piece, in really good shape, so that's nice. And of course, new cup and stuff and parts here from Colony. And then it came with bolts, but I wanted to use this style, so I wanted to use stainless bolts here. So anyway, that's what we're doing here. In the parts book, here's the print of the headlamp mount. This -48A is the newer one, which came out in '55, was when they started doing the rubber mounted stuff. So it has a bigger holes than the this -48. It's to accept all this stuff. Other thing that's going on in the front end stuff with the tins and stuff. This headlamp is also available in black. Tins were also available in black, not just only stainless. I haven't really seen very many bikes with just the black stuff, other than custom stuff. But there was probably some original ones out there with it on yet. A lot of the police bikes had all blacked out front ends yet with their silver paint and stuff like that, or depending on what color the police decided that they wanted to run. But yeah, everything is pretty much stainless or chrome on the front end, and it also has availability in black, because this book even talks about headlamp black, OHV. Of course, the headlamps were black on the Springer front ends, and then the chrome up here, headlamp body black, chrome. See, so I know in the previous video I was talking about the tins and stuff. I didn't mention that there was black available back then, but it was. So and I want to clear it up. But this bike will have all stainless stuff on it, kind of like the decked out ones were anyways. Since how this is like an FLH, it's kind of like the top of the line bike. So it's going to have all the chrome package and all that stuff. Other than maybe the grips won't be will be black yet. I'll show you that in a second here at the Palmer book. It talks about all the stuff available for this bike. Okay, so here's the Palmer book, and I have it brought up to 56 details. Here's the chrome finish group. This is pretty much what this bike will be like. The chrome front safety card, chrome rubber mounted handlebars, chrome rims, chrome headlamp, stainless fork trim, 5 pieces, chrome clutch cover, and timer cover and inspection cover. All the primary covers were black. Chrome muffler, polished fork sliders, which you've seen before, polished brake side cover, polished horn body and cover, chrome exhaust pipe covers, which is those little, it's a 57 over here, but that's what these little chrome covers are. That's what they're talking about. And colored plastic grips. Now I'm gonna stick with black. It would have had like color matched, like whatever color the bike was, red, blue, but I'm gonna stick with black. Chrome instrument panel cover. Some of them were painted with the same color the bike was, but a lot of the 56s and 57s and even 58s all had the chrome cover there. There's also different categories here, different accessories. So I got the front fender here, laying here, and this is a V-twin reproduction replica fender, and it's got all. This is the one with the holes. You can get it both ways, with holes and without holes. This has holes, and we're about ready to try to make sure that this lower trim fits. And the lower trim kind of has this shape to it, and it's not quite the same as the bottom. So it's kind of looking like we gotta conform the fender to match this. We don't want to try bending on this because we'll mess it up. So, and the reason for it is because how crazy this bend is. But with a brake, it got pressed really hard here and kind of probably kinked it in. It's a little bit more excessive than it was originally, so we need to get rid of some of it.
Oh, not this one.
All right, so we got this bowed out a little bit better, and it kind of conforms to our trim piece. And according to some of the pictures I have on these Hydroglide front ends, front fenders, there's a little bit of some fender right below it. And a lot of these fenders are different. It just depends on how the holes got put in, you know, so we're gonna be pretty dang close here. So now we got the hole drilled over here, and we're gonna put it on now and see how it looks. Here we got the trim piece put on, and it kind of conforms to the fender pretty good. And there's a little bit of some space there, but that's kind of how they were. And according to this painted book, there's a nice painted right in the front here, and you can see that there's a little bit of fender hanging below that trim piece. So I think we kind of accomplished that here. So I mean, it might be just a little too much. We can have that trimmed a little bit, but we'll see what happens. So otherwise, we're pretty good here on this part. Now we gotta work on the front tip. All right, here is the correct fender tip for 1949 to 1956. Because in 57 they changed it, 58 was different, and then they went to a different stock completely. And 59 also, and went from there on. And but anyways, this has 2 holes in the back here. Now when V-twin made this fender over here, they made this fender universal from 1949 to 1984, and nothing lines up right. I mean, I don't need these holes here, but someone for 84 and whatever year probably would need that. So we had to make our own holes here for this trim piece to fit, because the back side of it has 2 holes on the outer ends. And it takes this style spears. It's got a little flatness to it, and it kind of has like an M look to it when you look at it from the end. But anyways, the other thing is this fender also has the holes pre-made for the fender trim, side trim like this also. But one of the holes is circular for a T-clip. But these other ones that are oval like that, these clips will pop right into them. So I need to make that one probably oval shaped. So this thing will pop right into it. The other thing is we're going to mount this fender onto the front end, and we got to figure out where we need to have the brake tube clip for over here. So we'll get to that later. But because it's kind of right in line, it's probably right where my finger is. It's straight up from this, and it's like over from this a little bit, but we'll find out when we get to put it on there. So like I said, right now we have it on here, and I think we have it pretty much shaped like we want it to. And we'll move on to getting this other hole fixed up. Well, here we are. We got the round hole turned into more of an oval hole like the other ones, and we tried it, and it pretty much will fall right in there and snap into place. Now these trim pieces, they clip in, and you gotta squeeze the little clip in the back here to get to come back out. And then yeah, and our front tip fits. Now we're gonna go put it on the bike and figure out where a hole needs to be drilled and tapped for our brake line conduit there. Well, we got the fender to sit pretty straight and true within the middle of the tire and wheel here, so we're happy about that, because it kind of was like a little bit bent when we got it installed here. And then now we're gonna put that tube in over here for the brake cable wire to go through. So it's kind of like a line thing, but it's a tube. And yeah, here it is right here. The adjuster's at the top of this, and then at the bottom it threads into the brake backing plate. Wow. Okay. Well, it's the same thread, so that's a good sign. Okay, then anyway, there's like a little bit of a bend to it right here. That's supposed to be just like we have it right here. Like it curves back a little bit and then tilts upward. Then it scoots along here and perpendicular with the forks. It comes up to here somewhere. We might need to trim this because according to some pictures, it actually stops about down here. So they give you extra for whatever your situation may be. And I put the clip on here, and it looks like I have it about where it needs to be at. So, but yeah, that's probably where we're going to drill it and tap it so the screw fits in there. It was a slotted screw originally, cadmium plated, but yeah. According to the pictures, that's all the references I have is pointing it to be about right there. There ain't much option because we can't really, if we're going to follow the line with the forks, the fork right here going straight up, perpendicular with it, yeah, then it's right there. Because we either let it be way back here or too far forward, and so on. Okay, so we got the clip lined up here, and we have the hole drilled and tapped, and we have the screw in there, and it's slotted just like it originally was and cadmium plated. Same with the clip, along with this line as well. This tube here it's supposed to be cadmium plated as well. And then I also changed this out here. I dolled it up a little bit more, put chrome washers on here, and a stainless nut here, so it'll look a little bit better than just the plain cadmium one. There's gonna be a lot of chrome and stainless and shiny stuff on this bike, so when it's all finished up. Anyways, it's gonna kind of come to the end because we're gonna run out of time for working on the rear fender, but hope you enjoyed everything. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.